Ladies and gentlemen, it is my pleasure to invite you to today's performance, Raisin in the Sun. The cast tonight, played by Ruth Younger, our very own Rabbi Levy.
Yay!
Walter Younger, played by Rabbi Shlomo Levy.
All right.
Travis Younger, played by myself, Rabbi Benjamin Levy.
All
And Benitha Young, played by our very own Rabbi Queen Adira.
right.
The Langston Hughes poem was the groundwork for this play. What happens to a dream deferred? Does it dry up like a raisin in the sun? Or does it fester like a sore and then run? Does it stink like rotten meat or crust and sugar over like a syrupy sweet? Maybe it just sags like a heavy load. Or does it explode? I give to you Queen Adira.
The Younger living room would be a comfortable and well-ordered room if it were not for a number of indestructible contradictions to this state of being. Its furnishings are typical and undistinguished, and their primary feature now is that they have clearly had to accommodate the living of too many people for too many years, and they are tired. Still, we can see that at some time, a time probably no longer remembered by the family, except perhaps for Mama, the furnishings of this room were actually selected with care and love and even hope, and brought to this apartment and arranged with taste and pride. That was a long time ago. Now the once loved pattern of the couch upholstery has to fight to show itself from under acres of crocheted dollies and couch covers, which have themselves finally come to be more important than the upholstery. And here a table or a chair has been moved to disguise the worn places in the carpet. But the carpet is fought back by showing its weariness with depressing uniformity elsewhere on its surface. Weariness has in fact won in this room. Everything has been polished, washed, sat on, used, scrubbed too often. All pretenses but living itself has long since vanished from the very atmosphere of this room. Moreover, a section of this room, for it is not really a room unto itself, though the landlord's lease would make it seem so, slopes backward to provide a small kitchen area where the family prepares the meals that are eaten in the living room proper, which must also serve as a dining room. The single window has been provided for these two rooms, and it is located in the kitchen area. The sole natural light the family may enjoy in the course of a day is only that which fights its way through this little window. At left, a door leads to a bedroom which is shared by Mama and her daughter, Benitha. At right opposite is a second room, which is the beginning of life of this apartment. It was probably a breakfast room, which serves as a bedroom for Walter and his wife Ruth. Time, sometime between World War II and the present. Place, Chicago, South Side. At rise, in the morning. It is morning, dark, in the living room. Travis is asleep on the make-down bed at the center. An alarm clock sounds from within the bedroom at night, and as presently Ruth enters from that room and closes the door behind her. She crosses sleepily toward the window and she passes her sleeping son. She reaches down and shakes him a little. At the window, he raises the shade and a dusky south side morning light comes in feebly. She fills a pot with water and it's put on to boil. She calls to the boy between yawns in a slightly muffled voice. Ruth is about 30. We can see that she was a pretty girl, even exceptionally so, but now it is apparent that life has been little than she had expected, and disappointment has already begun to show on her face. In a few years, before 35 even, she will be known among her people as a settled woman. She crosses to her son and gives him a good, final, rousing shake.
Come on now, boy. It's 7:30.
Her son sits up at last in a stupor of sleepiness.
I say hurry up, Travis. You ain't the only person in the world got to use the bathroom.
The child, a sturdy, handsome little boy of 12 or 11, drags himself out of the bed and almost blindly takes his towels and today's clothes from the drawer in a closet and goes out to the bathroom, which is in an outside hallway and which is shared by another family or families on the same floor. Ruth crosses to the bedroom door at right and opens it and calls to her husband.
Walter Lee, it's after 7:30. Let me see you do some waking up in there now.
She waits.
You better get up from there, man. It's after 7:30, I tell you.
She waits again.
All right, you just go ahead and lay there. Next thing you know, Travis be finished and Mr. Johnson will be in there and you'll be fussing and cussing around here like a madman. And I'll be late too.
She waits at the end of patience.
Walter Lee, it's time for you to get up.
She waits another second and then starts to go into the bedroom, but is apparently satisfied that her husband has begun to get up. She stops, pulls the door to, and returns to the kitchen area. She wipes her face with a moist cloth and runs her fingers through her sleek, disheveled hair in a vain effort and ties an apron around her housecoat. The bedroom door at the right opens and her husband stands in the doorway in his pajamas, which are rumpled and mismated. He is a lean, intense man in his middle 30s, inclined to quick, nervous movements and erratic speech habits. And always, in his voice, there's a quality of indictment.
Is he out yet?
What you mean out? He ain't hardly got in there good yet.
Walter wandering in, still more oriented to sleep than to a new day.
Well, what was he doing all that yelling for? I can't even get in there.
Stopping.
Check coming today?
They said Saturday. This is just Friday, and I hope to God you ain't going to get up here first thing this morning and start talking to me about no money, because I about don't want to hear it.
Something that is something the matter with you this morning?
No, I just sleepy as the devil. What kind of eggs you want?
Not scrambled.
Ruth starts to scramble eggs.
Paper come?
Ruth points impatiently to the rolled up Tribune on the table, and he gets it and spreads it out and vaguely reads the front page.
Set off another bomb yesterday.
Ruth, maximum indifference.
Did they?
Walter, looking up.
What's the matter with you?
Ain't nothing the matter with me. And don't keep asking me that this morning.
Ain't nothing bothering you?
Reading the news of the day absently again.
Say, Colonel McCormick is sick.
Ruth, affecting Tea Party interests.
Is he now? Poor thing.
Walter, sighing and looking at his watch.
Oh, me.
He
Now,
waits.
what is that boy doing in the bathroom all this time? He's going to have to get started getting up earlier. I can't be late to work on account of him fooling around in there.
Ruth, turning on him.
Oh no, he ain't gonna be getting up no earlier, no such thing. It ain't his fault that he can't get to bed no earlier nights, 'cause he got a bunch of crazy good for nothing clones sitting up running their mouth in what is supposed to be his bedroom after 10 o'clock at night.
Oh, that's what you mad about, ain't it? The things I want to talk about with my friends just couldn't be important in your mind, could they?
He raises and finds a cigarette in her handbag and on the table and crosses to the little window and looks out, smoking and deeply enjoying his first one. Ruth, almost matter-of-factly, a complaint too automatic to deserve emphasis.
Why you always got to be smoking before you eat in the morning?
Walter's at the window.
Just look at him down there, running and racing to work.
He turns and faces his wife and watches her a moment at the stove, and then suddenly,
You look good this morning, baby.
indifferently,
Yeah.
Just for a second, stirring them eggs. Just for a second, I was looking at you, and you look real young again.
he reaches for her. She crosses away. Then dryly,
It's gone now. Now you look like yourself again.
Man, if you don't shut up and leave me alone.
Walter looking out to the street again.
First thing a man ought to learn in life is not to make love to no colored woman first thing in the morning. Y'all some evil people at 8 o'clock in the morning.
Travis appears in the hallway door, almost fully dressed and quite wide awake now, his towels and pajamas across his shoulder. He opens the door and signals for his father to make the bathroom in a hurry.
Travis, here comes
Watch
Travis.
the
Got a
bathroom.
pause. With a pause.
You can see right here.
That's what I say.
Yeah, Travis.
Daddy.
Should I?
Daddy, come on!
Walter gets his bathroom utensils and flies out to the bathroom.
Sit down and have your breakfast, Travis.
Mama, this is Friday. Check coming tomorrow, huh?
You get your mind off money and eat your breakfast.
This is the morning we're supposed to bring him 50 cents to school.
Well, I ain't got no 50 cents this morning.
She just said we have to.
I don't care what teacher said. I ain't got it. Eat your breakfast, Travis.
I'm eating.
Hush up now and just eat.
The boy gives her an exasperated look for her lack of understanding, and he eats grudgingly.
You think Grandma may have it?
No. And I want you to stop asking your grandmother for money. You hear me?
Outraged.
Golly! I don't ask her, she ain't give me some.
Ruth, Travis, Willard Young, I got too much on me this morning to be.
Maybe Daddy.
Travis,
The boy hushes abruptly. They are both quiet and tense for several seconds.
Could I maybe go with some groceries in front of the supermarket for a little while after school?
just hush, I say. If you thought eating, if you through eating, you can get out of here. You can get over there and make your bed.
The boy obeys stiffly and crosses the room, almost mechanically, to the bed, and more or less folds the bedding into a heap, then angrily gets his books and cap, sulking and standing apart from her unnaturally.
I'm gone.
Looking up from the stove to inspect him automatically,
Come here.
he crosses to her and she studies his head.
If you don't take this comb and fix this here head, you better.
Travis puts down his books with a great sigh of oppression and crosses to the mirror. His mother mutters under her breath about his slumberness.
I'm about to march out of here with that head looking just like chicken slept in it. I just don't know where you get your stubborn ways. And get your jacket too. Looks chilly out there this morning.
I'm gone.
Get coffee and milk money.
Yes'm.
And not a single penny for no caps. You hear me?
Yes'm.
He turns in outrage and leaves. His mother watches after him in frustration. He approaches the door almost comically. When she speaks to him, her voice has become very gentle tease.
Oh, Mama makes me so mad sometimes. I don't know what to do.
She waits and continues to his back as he stands stock still in front of the door.
I I wouldn't kiss that woman goodbye for nothing in the world this morning.
The boy finally turns around and rolls his eyes at her, knowing the mood has changed and he is vindicated. He does not, however, move toward her yet.
Not for nothing in this world.
She finally laughs aloud at him and holds out her arms to him, and we see that it is a way between them very old and practiced. He crosses to her and allows her to embrace him warmly, but keeps his face fixed with masculine rigidity. She holds him back from her presently and looks at him and runs her fingers over his features of his face with utter gentleness.
Now, whose little old angry man are you?
Oh, golly, Mama.
Ah, golly, Mama.
She pushes him with rough playfulness and finality toward the door.
Get on out of here or you're going to be late.
Mama, can I please carry groceries?
Honey, it's starting to get so cold evenings.
Walter's coming in from the bathroom and drawing a make-believe gun from a make-believe holster and shooting at his son. Walter.
What is it? Okay. What is it he wants to do?
Go carry groceries after school at the supermarket.
Well, let him go. I have to. She won't give me 50 cents. Why not?
'Cause we don't have it.
Why you tell a boy a thing like that? Here, son. Thanks, Daddy.
He starts to run out. Ruth watches both of them with murder in her eyes. Walter stands and stares back at her with defiance and suddenly reaches into his pocket again on an afterthought. Without even looking at his son, still staring hard at his wife.
In fact, take another 50 cents. Buy yourself some fruit today. Or take a taxi cab to school or something. Whoopee!
He leaps up and claps his father around the middle of his legs, and then they face each other in mutual appreciation. Slowly, Walter Lee peeks around the boy to catch the violent rays from his wife's eyes and draws his head back as if shot.
You better get going now and get to school, man. Okay, bye-bye. All right.
After him, he exits. Walter after him, pointing with pride.
That's my boy.
She looks at him in disgust and turns back to her work.
You know what I was thinking about in the bathroom this morning?
No.
How you always try to be so pleasant.
What is there to be pleasant about?
You want to know what I was thinking about in the bathroom or not?
I know what you're thinking about.
About what me and Willie Harris was talking about last night.
Willie Harris is a good-for-nothing loudmouth.
Oh, anybody who talks to me has got to be a good-for-nothing loudmouth, ain't he? And what you know about what is good-for-nothing loudmouth? Charlie Atkins was just a good-for-nothing loudmouth too, wasn't he? When he went up to me in the dry cleaning business with him. And now he's grossing $100,000 a year. $100,000 a year. You still call him a loudmouth?
Oh, Walter Lee.
She folds her head on her arms over the table. Rising and coming to her and standing over her.
You tired, ain't you? Tired of everything. Me, the boy, the way we live, this beat-up hole, everything. Ain't you?
She doesn't look up, doesn't answer.
So tired, moaning and groaning all the time. But you wouldn't be nothing to help you. You couldn't be on my side that long for nothing, could you?
Walter, please leave me alone.
A man needs for a woman to back him up.
Walter.
Mama would listen to you. You know, she would listen to you more than she does to me or Benny. She thinks more of you. And all you have to do is just sit down with her when you're drinking your coffee one morning and talking about things like you do.
He sits down beside her and demonstrates graphically what he thinks her methods and tones should be.
You just sip your coffee, see? And easy like you've been thinking about the deal Walter Lee is so interested in.
about the store and all, and sipping some coffee, like you ain't saying really anything important to you. And the next thing you know, she be listening good and asking you questions. And when I get home, I can tell her the details. That ain't no fly-by-night proposition, baby. I mean, we figured it out. Me and Willie and Bobo.
Bobo?
Yeah, you see, this little liquor store we got in mind cost $75,000. And we figured the initial investment on the place be about $30,000, see? That'd be $10,000 each. Because there's a couple of hundred you got to pay so that you don't have to spend the rest of your life just waiting for them clowns to get your license approved.
You mean grass?
Don't call it that. See, that this goes to show you what women understand about the world. Baby, nothing happens in this world unless somebody gets paid off.
Walter, leave me alone.
She raises her head and stares at him vigorously, then says more quietly,
Eat your eggs, they're gonna get cold.
straightening up from her and looking off.
That's it. There you are. Man says to a woman, I got a dream. He says, I got a dream. His woman says, eat your eggs. Sadly, beginning in power, man says, I got to take a hold of this here world, baby. And a woman will say, eat your eggs and go to work. Man says, I got to change my life. I'm choking to death, baby. And his woman says, eat your eggs, it's getting cold.
Walter, that ain't none of our money.
Not listening at all or even looking at her.
This morning I was looking in the mirror and thinking about it. I'm 35 years old. I've been married 11 years. And I got a boy who sleeps in the living room. And all I got to give him is stories about how rich white people live.
Eat your eggs, Walter.
Slams the table and jumps up.
Damn my eggs. Damn all the eggs that ever was.
Then go to work.
See, I'm trying to talk to you about myself. And all you can say is eat them eggs and go to work.
Honey, you never say nothing new. I listen to you every day, every night, every morning, and you never say nothing new. So you would rather be Mr. Arnold than be his chauffeur. So I would rather be living in Buckingham Palace.
That is what's wrong with the colored woman in this world. Don't understand nothing about their men and making them feel good like somebody, like they can do something in this world.
There are colored men who do nothings.
No thanks to the colored woman.
Well, being a colored woman, I guess I can't help myself none.
She rises and gets to the ironing board and sets it up and attacks a huge pile of rough, dried clothes, sprinkling them in preparation for the ironing and then rolling them into tight, fat balls.
We, one group of men, tried to erase women with small minds.
His sister Benita enters. She's about 20, as slim and intense as her brother. She's not as pretty as her sister-in-law, but her lean, almost intellectual face has a handsomeness of its own. She wears a bright red flannel night tie, and her thick hair stands out wildly about her head. Her speech is a mixture of many things. It is different from the rest of her family's insofar as education has permeated her sense of English. And perhaps the Midwest rather than the South has finally at last won out in her inflection. But not altogether, because over all of it is a soft, slurring, and transformed use of vowels, which is the decided influence of the South Side. She passes through the room without looking at either Ruth or Walter and goes to the outside door and looks, a little blindly, out to the bathroom. She sees that it has been lost to the Johnsons. She closes the door with a sleepy vengeance and crosses to the table and sits down, a little defeated.
Stop.
Woo! Yes.
Action.
I'm going to start timing those people.
get up earlier.
Really? Would you suggest dawn? Where's the paper?
Pushing the paper across the table of her as she studies her almost clinical, as though he had never seen her before.
You're a horrible looking chick at this hour.
Good morning, everybody.
How is school coming?
Lovely, lovely. And you know, biology, it's the greatest. I dissected something that looked just like you yesterday.
I was just wondering if you made up your mind and everything.
Gaining in sharpness and impatience.
And what did I answer yesterday morning and the day before that?
From an ironing board like someone disinterested of the old.
Don't be so nasty, Benny.
And the day before that? And the day before that?
I'm interested in you. Something wrong with that? Ain't many girls who decided to be a doctor.
In unison.
To be a doctor?
To be a doctor.
Have we figured out just yet exactly how much medical school is going to cost?
Why don't you leave that girl alone and get out of here to work?
Come on out of there, please.
She comes back into the room. Walter looking at her sister intensely.
You know the check is coming tomorrow.
Turning to him and sharply all of her own.
That money belongs to Mama, Walter. And it's for her to decide how she wants to use it. I don't care if she wants to buy a house or a rocket ship or just nail it up on somewhere. And look at it. It's hers, not ours.
Bitterly.
Hers.
Now ain't that fine? You just got your mother interested at heart, ain't you, girl? You're such a nice girl. But if Mama got that money and she always take a few thousand and help you through medical school, can't she?
I have never asked anyone around here to do anything for me.
No. And the line between asking and just accepting when the time comes is big and wide, ain't it?
What do you want from me, brother? That I quit school or drop dead? Which?
I don't want nothing but for you to stop acting holy around here. Me and Ruth been making some sacrifices for you. Why can't you do something for the rest of the family?
Don't be dragging me into it.
Well, you're in it. Don't you get up and go to work in somebody's kitchen for the last 3 years to help put clothes on her back?
Oh, Walter, that's not fair.
It ain't that nobody expects you to get on your knees and say to you, thank you, brother, thank you, Ruth, thank you, Mama, thank you, Travis, for wearing the same pair of shoes for 2 semesters.
Dropping to her knees.
Well, I do. All right. Thank you, everybody. And forgive me for ever wanting to be anything at all. Forgive me. Please, forgive me.
Across the floor.
Forgive me.
Please stop it. Your mama will hear you.
Who the hell told you you have to be a doctor? If you're so crazy about messing around with sick people, then go be a nurse like other women. Or just get married and be quiet.
Well, you finally got it said. It took you 3 years, but you finally got it said. Walter, give up. Leave me alone. It's Mama's money.
He was my father too.
So what? He was mine too. And Travis's grandfather. But the insurance money belongs to Mama. Picking on me is not going to make her give it to you to invest in any liquor store.
Underneath, dropping to the chair.
And I, for one, say, God bless Mama for that.
To Ruth.
See? Did you hear? Did you hear?
Honey, please go to work.
Nobody in this house is ever going to understand me.
Because you're not.
Who's a nut?
You're a nut. B is mad, boy.
Looking at his wife and his sister from the door very sadly.
The world's most backward race of people, and that's a fact.
Turning slowly in her chair.
And then there are all those prophets who would lead us out of the wilderness.
Walter slams the door out of the house.
Into the swamps.
Benny, Why you always gonna be picking on your brother? Can't you be a little sweeter sometimes?
Door opens, Walter walks in and fumbles in his cat, starts to speak clear throat, looking everywhere but at Ruth finally.
I need money for car fare.
Looking at him, then warms, tearings, and then dearly.
50 cents?
She goes to her bag and gets money.
Here, take a taxi.
Walter exits. Mama enters. She is a woman in her early 60s, fully body and strong. She is one of those women of a certain grace and beauty who wears it with us protrusively that it takes a while to notice. Her dark brown face is surrounded by the total whiteness of her hair. Being a woman who has adjusted to many things in life and overcoming many more, her face is full of strength. She can see wit and faith at the kind of the keeping of her eyes lids, and full of interest and expectation. She is, in a word, a beautiful woman. Her bearings are perhaps most like a noble bearing of a woman of heroes of Southwest Africa, rather as she imagines that as she walks, she still bears a basket or a vessel upon her head. Her speech, on the other hand, is as careless as her carriage is precise. She is inclined to slur everything, but her voice is perhaps not so much quiet as simply soft.
Who's that round here slamming doors at this hour?
She crosses to the room, goes to the window open, and brings a feeble little plant growing doggedly in a small pot by the windowsill. She fills the dirt and puts back out.
That was Walter Lee. He and Beanie was at it again.
My children and their temper. Lord, if this little old plant don't get more sun than it's been getting, it ain't never gonna see spring again.
She turns from the window.
What's the matter with you this morning, Ruth? You look right peak. You aiming to iron all them things? Leave some for me. I get it to him this afternoon. Betty, honey, it's too drafty for you to be sitting around half dressed. Where's your robe?
And the cleaners?
Well, go get mine and put it on.
I'm not cold, Mama. Honest.
I know, but you're so thin.
Mama, I'm not cold.
Seeing down the bed made by Travis had left it.
Lord have mercy. Look at that poor bed. Bless his heart. He tries, don't he?
She moves to the bed Travis has sloppily made up.
No, he don't have try at all, because he knows you're going to come along behind him and fix everything.
Mm-hmm.
That's just how come he don't know how to do nothing right now. You don't spoil that boy so.
Well, he's a little boy. Ain't supposed to know nothing. Ain't supposed to know about housekeeping. My baby. That's what he is. What you fixing for his breakfast this morning?
I feed my son, Lena.
I ain't meddling. I just noticed all last week he had cold cereal, and when it starts getting this chilly in the fall, a child ought to have some hot grits or something when he goes out in the cold.
I gave him hot oats. Is that all right?
I ain't meddling. Put a lot of nice butter on it. Put a lot of nice butter on it. He likes hot butter, lots of butter.
Lena.
What was you and your brother fussing about this morning?
It's not important, Mama.
What was they fighting about?
Now you know as well as I do.
Brother still worrying himself sick about that money?
You know he is.
You had breakfast?
Some coffee.
Girl, you better start eating and looking after yourself better. You're almost thin as Travis.
Lena.
What are you going to do with it? Now, don't you start, child. It's too early in the morning to be talking about money. Ain't Christian.
It's just that he got his heart set on that store.
You mean that liquor store that Willie Harris wanted him to invest in?
Yes.
We ain't no business people, Ruth. We just plain working folks.
Ain't nobody's business. Ain't nobody business people till they go into business. Walter Lee said colored people ain't never gonna start getting ahead until they start gambling on some different kinds of things in the world. Investments and things.
What done got into you, girl? Walter Lee done finally sold you on investing?
No, Mama, something is happening between Walter and me. I don't know what it is, but he needs something. I can't give him anymore. He needs some chance, Lena.
But liquor, honey?
Well, like Walter said, I expect people going to always be drinking themselves some liquor.
Well, whether they drink it or not ain't none of my business. But whether I go into business selling it to them is...
I got to go in. We need the money.
Somebody would have thought my children done all but starved to death the way they talk about money here late. Child, we got a great big old check coming tomorrow.
Sincerely, but less righteously.
Now that's your money. It ain't going nothing to do with me. We all feel like that. Walter and Beanie and me. Even Travis.
Thoughtfully and suddenly, very far away.
$10,000.
Sure is wonderful.
$10,000.
You know what you should do, Miss Lena? You should take yourself a trip somewhere to Europe or South America or someplace.
Throwing up her hands at the thought.
Oh, child,
I'm serious. Just pack up and leave. Go on away and enjoy yourself some. Forget about the family. Have yourself a ball for life in one time of your life.
Drearily.
You sound like I'm just about ready to die. Will they go with me? Who they go with me? Will I look like wandering around Europe by myself?
Shoot. They're here rich white women do it all the time. They don't think nothing of packing up those suitcases and piling one of those big steamships and swoosh. They're gone, child.
Something always told me I ain't no rich white woman.
Well, you are going to do it then.
I ain't right decided.
Thinking she speaks now with emphasis.
Some of it got to be put away from beneath her and her schooling. And ain't nothing gonna touch that part of it. Nothing.
She waits several seconds trying to make up her mind about something and looks at Ruth a little intensively before going on.
Been thinking that we maybe could meet the notes on a little two-story somewhere with a yard where Travis could play in the summertime. If we use part of the insurance for a down payment and somebody kind of pitch in and everybody kind of pitch in, I could maybe take a little day work again, a few days a week.
Studying her mother-in-law futurely and concentrating on her ironing, anxious to encourage without seeming to...
Well, Lord knows we put enough rent into this rat trap here to pay for 4 houses by now.
Looking up the words rat trap and then looking around and leaning back and sighing and suddenly reflecting mood.
Rat trap, yes. That's all it is.
Smiling.
I remember just as well the day me and Big Walter moved in here. Hadn't been married but 2 weeks and wasn't planning on living here no more than a year.
She shakes her head in dissolving dream.
We was gonna get set away little by little. Don't know. And you buy a little place out in Morgan Park. We had even picked out the house.
Chuckling a little.
Looks right dumpy today. But Lord, child, you should know all the dreams I had about buying that house and fixing it up and making me a little garden in the back.
She waits and stops smiling,
And didn't none of it happen.
dropping her hands to the fertile gesture.
Yes, life can be a barrel of disappointments sometimes.
Honey, Big Walter would come in here some nights back then and slump down on that couch there and just look at the rug and look at me and look at the rug and then back at me. And I didn't know he was down then, really down.
After seconds long and thoughtful pause, she sees back in times as only she could see.
Then, Lord, when I lost that baby, little Claude, I almost thought I was going to lose Big Water too. Oh, that man grieved himself. He was one man to love his children.
Ain't nothing can tear you like losing your baby.
I guess that's how come that man finally worked himself to death like he done. Like he was fighting his own war with this here world that took his baby from him.
He sure was a fine man, all right. I always liked Mr. Younger.
Crazy about his children. God knows there was plenty wrong with Walter Young. Hard-headed, mean, kind of wild with women. Plenty wrong with him, but he sure loved his children. Always wanting them to have something, be something. That's where brother gets all these notions, I reckon. Big Walter used to say he'd get right wet in the eyes sometimes, leaning his head back with the water standing in his eyes and say, seemed like God didn't seem fit to give the black man nothing but dreams. But he did give us children. He make them dreams seems worthwhile.
She smiles.
He could talk like that, don't you know?
Yes, he sure could. He was a good man, Mr. Younger.
Yes, a fine man. Just could never catch up with his dreams, that's all.
Benita comes in, brushing her hair and looking up at the ceiling where the sound of the vacuum cleaner has started up.
What could be so dirty on that woman's rug that she has to vacuum them every single day?
I wish certain young women around here who I could name, would take inspiration about certain rugs in certain apartments. I could also mention...
Shrugging.
How much cleaning can a house need, for Christ's sakes?
Benny.
Just listen to her. Just listen. Oh, God.
If you use the Lord's name just one more time.
Oh, Mama.
Fresh. Just fresh as salt, this girl.
Well, if that salt loses its savor.
Now, that will do. I just ain't going to have you round here reciting the scriptures in vain. You hear me?
How did I manage to get on everybody's wrong side just by walking into a room?
If you weren't so fresh.
Ruth, I'm 20 years old.
What time is it? What time you been home? What time you'll be home from school today?
Kind of late.
With enthusiasm.
Madeline is going to start my guitar lessons today.
Mama and Ruth look up with the same expression.
What kind of lessons?
Guitar.
Oh,
Father.
How come you done taking it in your mind to learn play the guitar?
I just want to, that's all.
Smiling.
Lord, child, don't you know what you do with yourself? How long it's going to be before you get tired of this now? Like you got tired of that little player acting group you joined last year.
Looking at Ruth.
And that was the year before that.
The horseback riding club, for which she bought that $55 riding habit that's been hanging in the closet ever since.
Why you got to flirt so from one thing to another, baby?
I just want to learn to play the guitar. Is there anything wrong with that?
Ain't nobody trying to stop you. I just wonder sometimes why you have to flit from one thing to the other all the time. You ain't never done nothing with all that camera equipment you brought home.
I don't flit. I experiment with different forms of expression.
Like riding a horse?
People have to express themselves one way or another.
What is it you want to express?
Me! Don't worry. I don't expect you to understand.
Who you going out with tomorrow night?
George Murchison, again.
Oh,
Please.
you getting a little sweet on him.
You asked me, this child ain't sweet on nobody but herself. Express herself. Oh, I like George all right, Mama. I mean, I like him enough to go out with him and stuff, but
What does
The devil, yeah.
stuff mean?
mind your own business.
Stop picking on her now, Ruth.
She chuckles and suspiciously suddenly looks at her daughter as she turns her chair with emphasis.
What does it mean?
Oh, I mean, I couldn't ever really be serious about George. He's so shallow.
What you mean he's shallow? He's rich. Hush, Ruth.
I know he's rich. He knows he's rich too.
Well, what other qualities a man got to have to satisfy you, little girl?
You wouldn't even begin to understand. Anybody who married Walter could not possibly understand.
Outraged.
What kind of way is that to talk about your brother?
Brother is a flip. Let's face it.
What's a flip?
Glad to add kindly.
She's saying he's crazy. Not crazy. Brother isn't really crazy yet. He's an elaborate neurotic.
Hush your mouth.
As for George, well, George looks good. He's got a beautiful car and he takes me to nice places. As my sister-in-law says, he is probably the richest boy I will ever get to know, and I even like him sometimes. But if the youngers are sitting around waiting to see if their little beanie is getting to tie up the family with the Murchisons, they are wasting their time.
You mean you wouldn't marry George Murchison if he asked you someday? That pretty rich thing? Honey, I knew you was odd.
No, I would not marry him if all I felt for him was what I feel now. Besides, George's family wouldn't really like it.
Why not?
Oh, Mama, the Murchisons are honest to God, real faux rich colored people. And the only people in the world who are more snobbish than rich white people are rich colored people. I thought everybody knew that. I've met Mrs. Murchison. She's a scene.
You must not dislike people because they're well off, honey.
Why not? It makes just as much sense as disliking people because they're poor. And lots of people do that.
A wisdom of old age matter to Mama.
Well, she'll get over some of this.
Get over it? What are you talking about, Ruth? Listen, I'm going to be a doctor. I'm not worried about who I'm going to marry yet. If I ever get married.
If? Benny?
Oh, I probably will. But first I'm going to be a doctor. And George, for one, still thinks that's pretty funny. I couldn't be bothered with that. I'm going to be a doctor, and everybody around here better understand that.
Kindly.
Cause you're gonna be a doctor, honey. God willing.
God hasn't got a thing to do with it.
Benita, that just wasn't necessary.
Well, neither is God. I get sick of hearing about God.
Benita,
I mean it. I'm just tired of hearing about God all the time. What has he got to do with anything? Does he pay tuition?
about to get you a fresh little jaw slap.
That's just what she needs, all right. Why? Why can't I say what I want to around here, like everybody else?
It don't sound nice for a young girl to say things like that. You wasn't brought up that way. Me and your father went to trouble to get you and your brother to church every Sunday.
Mama, you don't understand. It's all a matter of ideas. And God is just one idea I don't accept. It's not important. I'm not going out and being immoral or committing crimes because I don't believe in God. I don't even think about it. It's just that I get tired of him getting credit for all the things the human race achieves through its own stubborn effort. There simply is no blasted God. There's only man. And if it is, he who makes miracles.
Mama absorbs this speech, studies her daughter, and rises slowly and crosses to Benita and slaps her powerfully across the face. After there is only silence and the daughter drops her eyes at her mother's face and Mama with a very tall before her.
Now, you say after me. In my mother's house, there is still God.
There is a long pause, and Benita stares at the floor wordlessly. Mama repeats the phrase with the precision and cool emotion.
In my mother's house, there is still God.
In my mother's house, there's still God.
A long pause. Mama walks away from Benita, too stubborn to triumphant posture, stopping and turning back to her daughter.
There are some ideas we ain't gonna have in this house, not long as I'm at the head of this family.
Yes, ma'am.
Mama walks out the room.
You think you're a woman, Benny. But you still a little girl. What you did was childish, so you got treated like a child.
I see. I also see that everybody thinks it's all right for Mama to be a tyrant. But all the tyranny in the world will never put a God in the heavens.
She picks up her books and goes out. Pause.
She said she was sorry.
Coming out, going into the plant.
They frightened me, Ruth, my children.
You got good children, Lena. They just a little off sometimes, but they're good.
No, there's something coming down between me and them that don't let us understand each other, and I don't know what it is. One done almost lost his mind thinking about money all the time, and the other done commenced talking about things like I can't seem to understand in no form or fashion. What is it that's changing, Ruth?
Soothingly older than her years.
Now, you taking it all too seriously. You just got strong-willed children, and it takes a strong woman like you to keep them in hand.
Looking at her plant and sprinkling a little water on it.
They're spirited all right, my child. Got to admit, they got spirit. Benny and Walter, like this little old plant, that ain't never had enough sunshine or nothing. And look at it.
She has her back to Ruth, who has to stop ironing and lean against something to put back her hand to her forehead.
Well, I always wanted me a garden like I used to see sometimes at the back of the houses down home. This plant as close as I ever got to having one.
She looks out the window as she replaces the plant.
Lord, nothing as dreary as the view from this window on a dreary day, is there? Why ain't you singing this morning, Ruth? Sing that No Way Tide. That song always lifts me up.
She turns at last to see that Ruth has slipped quietly to the floor in a state of semi-consciousness.
Ruth, honey, what's the matter with you, Ruth?
The curtains go up.
Boy, it's hot.
For the bow.
The bow. Oh, yes. Woo! Playing Little Ruth, Rabanita playing Beanie and Benita, Rabanita Adira, playing Travis Young, Rabbi and playing Sidney Poitier, Rabbi Shinoa.